Hey guys, my name is Andrew. I welcome you to another awesome video in this NextJs13 series. Alright, so as just like the thumbnail of this video already suggests, in this video I want to show you guys how to set up Google Fonts in a NextJs13 app using the native class name method. So in previous videos, I've showed you guys two other ways that you can set up Google Fonts and use it in the NextJs13 app. And actually, to be honest, those two other ways were more convenient than this native default method, which comes with a new NextJS13 installation. So let's check out a NextJS13 installation that I haven't tampered with. Yeah, I think here is an installation I haven't tampered with. Right, so I don't think I've made any change here, probably a little, but I don't think so. So basically, when you install a new NextJS13 application, this is how it comes. So it comes with the inter font, and then you can see how it is used here. So this is basically how Google Font is configured in a new Next.js13 installation. But then going over to our app which we're using for this project, then the master Next.js13 series, I've initially showed you guys two other ways. I showed you guys first of all, we configured our font, right? We created a utility folder, utils folder. We created a font.js file. We configured and made all the font setup. And then going back to our layout.js file, we made our imports from the font file, and then we're able to do all we did. So those two other methods, I showed you guys how to do it, how to control the setup with CSS variables and selectors. I've commented them out. I also showed you guys how to do the setup, the configuration of Google Fonts through the Tailwind CSS config file. So I've showed you guys these two other methods, and I prefer those two other methods to this regular method that comes with a new Next.js13 installation. The problem with this method is that each time you want to use the font anywhere, you have to convert the whole class list, the whole class name to JavaScript, because you need to call enter the class name, and then you need it to be in JavaScript format. So you just anywhere you need to use that font at all. If it's a single font, it's fine, because like you can see over here, the whole app which is embedded within this children prop is using the inter font, right? So if it's a single font, we just call it here and we are done. But when you want to use multiple fonts, just like we set up here, it then just like we set up here. When you want to use multiple fonts, you can't use those two fonts on the body at the same time, because it won't work that way. So you need to call them individually. So if you are using multiple fonts in your project, then that method becomes a problem, because anytime you want to call classes, you have to keep converting the whole line of class names to JavaScript, and that isn't cool with me. So I actually prefer these two other methods: controlling it with CSS using variables and selectors, and then controlling it with from within the Tailwind CSS config file using the variables as well, and then you have a font setup. So I showed you guys these two other methods in the previous video in the series. Check out the series on YouTube, it's right here. Yeah, the series is right here on this channel. So the link to the complete series to this page will be in the description of this video. So check out the description of this video, you get to see the link, go to the series, explore it, check out all the videos, follow the series from beginning even as I continue till the end, and I assure you, you'll be awesome at Next.js13. So these are the two previous videos I made showing you guys. This was the one with CSS, and this was the one with the Tailwind config file. So guys, I've showed you guys how to handle this stuff with different methods. Check out these two videos, and then with this one that you're currently watching, check which of the three methods you prefer, which gives you a better developer experience, and go with it. But then in this case, I want to show you guys how to do it the proper way in case you are using multiple fonts. So we are still going to stick with our setup like this. We could have directly exported this, right? We could have added the export statement here, right? The export keyword rather. We could have added the export keyword here, and then we could have commented this out, right? And it's going to work just fine. We could have just commented this out and added those export statements. It's going to work just fine. But then equally, let's keep our app file cleaner. Let's keep our layout file rather. Let's keep our layout file cleaner. Let's do some extra part of the job here. Let's change this variable to the class name, right? So we'll basically just do the class name here and then something very similar, right? Because if you check the native setup, it's more like the same thing, just this variable, and then you add the class name to it, right? So the same thing we are doing there, but then we are calling the class name here. All we need to do is just export this, and then we wrap our app with it, and we are going to be good. All right, so coming here, we already have these two imports, but then this is how it looks at the moment. So we want to ensure we remove all those other setup. I've already commented them. I've commented this one, and inside of the CSS as well, I've commented this. So we know they are no longer controlling our font system. So coming back here, we already did our setup, we exported. Now let's go back to our layout.js file. Inside of our layout.js file, I want to remove everything here. Yeah, we don't need this class name is for the tailwind css method. And now over here, I want to remove all of this, right? I want to remove all of this. Let me just call a class name that doesn't exist. Let's just say null. Let me just add a false class that doesn't exist. So basically, I want to show you guys how the app is going to look at the moment without any of those fonts attached to it. So let's go back to our app and see how our app looks at the moment. Okay, good. So you can see how the font looks on our app at the moment. I guess this should be some default. Sorry, this should be some fallback font, some kind of fallback font or something. All right. So there's something I didn't explain more about this setup to you guys. So basically over here we have just like it is done inside of the native setup, right? What comes with the default with the brand new installation, you have your font is imported, and then you have your configuration, you get the Latin subset of the font, and then you now finally wrap the whole of your app with it. So same thing is happening here, but in this case I went ahead to do some more advanced stuff. So equally, we imported these fonts from Google Fonts, sorry, from Next/Google from this package, just like it was imported here, right? Just like it was imported here. So we didn't use Inter, we used Nunito Sans and Poppins. So we imported those two fonts from the package. And then as you can see here, we configured the font. We got the Latin subset of the font display set to swap. This display property has to do with switching to a fallback font in case the one we want is not available. Probably there's an error. And then we have this variable which we don't need in this case, and then the weight is 300. If you want to see how we use the variable, check out the other videos. Over here we did the same setup for Poppins. We got the weight is 300, just like you do in Google Fonts. Before you go pick the weight from the website, you set up, and then you get your links, right? Get your link and then the CSS setup. But then in this case it's different. So you just get the weight you want. We want 300 for Nito Sans, and then over here we had a subset, we had the same display swap, and then the variable again, which we don't need in this case. And then we selected three weights for this font. So this would be the regular when you just call Poppins, right? When you call the Poppins font, this would be the regular. This will now be semi bold, and this will be bold, right? So basically, this is what we did here. And then now we exported them, right? We exported the class name, and then equally for Poppins, we did the same. And then coming over to our layout file, we had our import. So basically, this is everything we need. The class name is already done here. We already added the class name to it here, so we basically don't need to do that again. So like I've showed you guys already, I've already disabled everything about the previous methods. Now we can do it like the native method suggests, which is you convert the class to an object and then you set the font. So for the body, I want to set the body to have the Nunito Sans font. So anywhere I don't call a special font, Nunito Sans will take precedence. So now let's apply the Nunito Sans font here. So Nunito underscore Sans, good. So now for the whole app body, the Nunito Sans font will take precedence. So now we don't need this Poppins font here, right? We don't need it here because we are not using it here. So all we need is just the Nunito Sans font. And this is another disadvantage of using this method. Aside the fact that you need to convert your classes to JavaScript, you need to keep making imports anywhere you want to use it. But in those previous methods, we don't need to keep making imports. The initial setup might take some time. Yeah, might take more time, but the truth is, once you go through that initial grind, you have a very smooth ride going forward. But in this case, wherever you want to use the font, you have to keep importing, and then have to keep converting the class names again to JS. So it's not actually the best experience, but then I'm showing you guys so that you guys can make the choices like you wish. So now good, I'm done setting up Unito Sans here. Now let's go back to the page where we need the font, where we need the Poppins font. So let's import the Poppins font here. Sorry about this. All right, good. So we go up there and we import Poppins, import the Poppins font. Yeah, the export we made, we import it from we want it, it's coming from our utils file and then fonts.js, right? Good. So we now have poppins here. Then over here, we now need to, can you see guys? We need to, this particular heading, we now need to convert everything to JavaScript, and it's just not the best experience, right? First, we need to make an import, which we didn't need to make in those other methods, but now we need to make an import. And then secondly, we now need to convert our font. We need to convert the whole class name to JavaScript to make these other classes work. So it's just not the best experience if you ask me. So now coming over here, let's do the JavaScript conversion, right? So we convert to JavaScript, we bring in string literals. So we bring in string literals and then we not the ampersand, then we call our poppins, right? So we call poppins, and then we can now cut the rest of the font, right? We can now cut the rest of the font, bring them here, and then we paste. So we don't need this code anymore, do we? Sorry, we don't need these two quotes outside. Good, we're done. So this is just the problem I've been talking about. If you've been following along with the previous videos, I just spoke about this and I didn't really practically demonstrate it, but now you guys can see how boring it is. So anywhere else we need to use this Poppins font. For example, if the project requires the Poppins font for headings, meaning anywhere else you need to use a heading, you have to make this import first, and then you need to convert the whole class to JavaScript. It's just not fun, right? But those two other methods, you just do your setup. The initial grind might take more time, but once you're done, you don't need to make extra imports. Just call classes, you'll be good. So guys, this is this method. I've showed you guys how to convert the setup. We don't need the variables in this case. We remove the variables, and then equally, we didn't need to export with the variable. We needed the class name, so I did it here instead of going to the layout file to do it. And then we have to keep importing wherever we want the font. So we wrap the whole of our app with Nonito Sans, but then we wanted headings to have the Poppins font. So I've showed you guys how to do it. I've showed you guys the cons of this method. And then if you really want to see the two other methods I've told you guys already, check out the series. Coming back to our app, there's some good news. Our build have adjusted, right? So you now have this bold heading, it's Poppins, and then you have Nonito Sans as well. It has changed from from the way it looked initially when I showed you guys, and now our fonts are working just fine, right? Our fonts are working just fine. So if you come to the body here, sorry, if you come to the HTML, going back to the build, going back to the layout page, we have the HTML uh, elements here. We have the Nunito class on it. We have the Nunito Sans class on it, right? So coming over here, you have this automatic class name. Permit me to call it automatic, guys. So you get this Nunito Sans, whatever, right? And then let's inspect this heading, and you get to see the one for the poppins is there, right? So you can see the one for the poppins. So this is awesome, guys. This is how to set up Google Fonts in the NextJs13 project if you are using multiple fonts. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up button, give me the like, subscribe to the channel, opt in for notifications so you won't miss awesome content like this. And then don't forget to follow the next Just 18 series. It's an awesome series, just like I believe you've gotten so much value from this video. There's so much value in this series. It's going to help you become awesome at Next.js 13. So guys, that's it for this video. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Love you guys.